Welcome back to the Rediscovery Journal, the podcast where healing meets honesty. I'm your host, Sophia, and each week we dive into stories of self discovery, mental health, and the raw, real moments that shape who we are. Whether you're on the journey of growth, seeking clarity, or simply need a reminder that you're not alone, you're in the right place. Let's rediscover what it means to truly know ourselves one conversation at a time. So, for tonight's episode, or today, depending on what time you're listening to it, um, I have a friend that I met through Greek life. She was actually my new member educator for the sorority that I joined, Delta Zeta, back in 2017. And she's also part of my sorority family as well. So that's a really cool connection. She's been dedicated to a field of academics and she has her master's degree in clinical and mental health counseling. Is there anything specific or information you want to kind of dive into about yourself, Susan?
I don't think so. I love the intro. Thank you so much. Also, a throwback to sorority life. You brought me back to college there for a minute, for sure. Love it.
Yeah, it's a little triggering. I mean, it has good moments and bad. You know.
I mean, yes, yes. There are definitely some triggering moments in there for sure. But yes, all around very good memories for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only reason that I really got to truly know you on the level that I did was one because you were the new member educator for my new member group, and then because you were part of like my segment of family.
Yeah.
So it gave me ability to kind of see you in that like educational role, and then outside of that. Not that other people didn't know you, because you were
Yep.
kind of a staple of our chapter. I feel like everybody knew, oh my gosh, that's Susan when you went across campus. But there's a difference between knowing of someone and actually knowing them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice that you say that because that was the whole reason I kind of wanted to be a new member at the time. Like, I wanted to be a pure role model, leader, whatever you want to call it, like, or even just a friend to kind of help guide. So during that time, it's nice that that's how you think of me. That's sweet. I love it.
Oh yeah, I those are like those are some of my like greatest memories I think of being in a sorority, where like the newer days of me being in it, just learning all the information that you had.
Mhm.
And then I also remember like during like Little League, I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but
Bring it
I
on.
think our you already know what I'm about to say.
No, I'm just like, it's got to be something funny about me, I'm sure.
Well,
Kind of.
so our bigs were supposed to put like a confetti or something into like a card for us, and mine had like letters or like what looked like a writing from it. And so I thought it was a puzzle, and I tried to put the puzzle
Oh my God,
together.
I remember that.
And it wasn't a puzzle.
It was not.
And I had other people in my new member ed group like literally trying to help me with this puzzle of what pieces went together.
And I
And I
came over and
remember
I was like, what are you doing? And you're like, it's a puzzle. I said, no, it's not.
I think, didn't you have to text her and ask, like, didn't you give it
Yeah,
a label
probably.
puzzle?
I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not, but like, let me text Amanda and ask her.
Like my analytical brain was like,
Right, right,
this is a
right,
puzzle right now. They're trying to make it interactive.
right. Yes, absolutely. Oh gosh, those were the days.
Yeah, I think that was one of my like favorite all time moments, because then afterwards I felt really stupid that I thought that it was a puzzle. I'm like, oh yeah, no one else got a puzzle. Why would I?
But that's the best part about those experiences are like the little stuff like that you hold on to. It's like, remember when you were like a freshman and a sophomore and that was your biggest problem? You know? Like,
Whoa, that one hit. I also remember that week telling my mom, I was like, I have a feeling I didn't get the girl that I wanted, and if I didn't get the girl that I wanted, I don't think anyone else knows me enough. So I think that it's gonna be really awkward.
say now being far removed from it, this little week is a mind. Can you cuss on here? A mind fuck.
Yeah, I'll just put it as explicit.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. It's a mind fuck because the way that we would try and trick each other and make us leave one thing, I'm like, that's just like crazy.
Well, I don't remember who I put at the top of mine, but I
I
know
don't
that
either.
who I wanted had completely I who I wanted was on my list,
Yeah.
but like I got like I got Amanda, that's who I wanted at the end, but I
Yeah.
didn't know Amanda enough to put her at the top of my
Correct.
list. I just randomly wrote down people.
And that's the thing, I think there's so much pressure on that. list, but I think the more you think about it, like it really should be who I think is, or who that person or who the group thinks is going to be like the best mentor and leader for you through this experience. It's not necessarily someone who's supposed to be your best friend. And I think that's where it would get lost in translation a lot because, yeah, maybe at the time, because you're only in it for a few weeks at that point, you might think you know who that person is supposed to be for you. And then you actually, I remember when I prepped for my Big Little, like I should have got who I want, but I didn't put them at the top. But then I was like, why? Like looking back at it, and I was like, there's no one else that I should have put at the top other than the person I got, right? But you don't know them well enough at that time to like know that. So
Well, that's why I think it's so important to have a new member educator who's actually like paying attention to the new members to figure out what their personalities are and who pairs well together, because I think it's really heartbreaking when
yeah, it is.
people who shouldn't be paired together are paired together, because it can cause awkward situations. Like if someone's really excited about one person and get someone that they really don't know at
Right,
all and
right.
didn't have any sort of connection with, it kind of can set people up to not be in a situation for success.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it hard to grow from there.
Right. And I remember getting a, and it wasn't just a solely me decision at the time, but I remember getting some pushback on some things, and I think it was just a difference of opinion on what we thought Big Little should be at the time. But and I struggled with that because I mean, if I had made every decision I wanted to make at that time, I think some things might have gone a little bit better. But at the same time, like I get it, like that we should honor what the people want too. So it's a hard balance to, wow, that's like, it's weird because that feels like yesterday, but then another,
It's so long
it
ago
feels
at
like
the
a
same time.
lifetime ago. Like that's,
And I just think it's so interesting too to see how the concept of it changes through the years, of how different someone does things
mhm,
versus the person who takes over after. Because I
yeah,
mean, everybody has a different vision for what they want. And some people are a lot more headstrong in like, this is my role, I'm gonna do it my way, versus other people are a lot more open to like letting the chapter make decisions for things, even though it's their position.
I really struggled with that because I was pretty headstrong in my decision making, but it was because I felt like I knew you all very well. So I felt like I knew what was going to be best. I would say did not make me the most liked person in the chapter, that's for sure at the time. But
I also just remember like when you picked a theme, you were like, this is what we're doing. And people
yes,
were like, okay. And then I remember like later on, there'd be some other people who'd be like, this is a theme. No, we don't want that. We're not doing it. And I'm like, that's so interesting how things can shift, I guess,
mm-hmm,
because I just remember everybody just, oh, Susan won. Cool.
mm-hmm,
Like that's what we're going with. That's her role. And then when you see that that isn't always the case, I'm like, oh,
mm-hmm.
like
Yeah, that's
that's
why it was
interesting.
hard to be an exec because not everybody was going to like your decisions that we were making. And I think and our exec was very split 50-50. So a lot of times
Mm.
it's like half of the group would think one way and half of the group think the other way. And I was young when I joined exec. So that was also like one of those things where I was like, I feel like I'm not supposed to be here.
Hmm.
But I was more in it for the role than being a part of the leadership team more
Yeah.
than anything. For me, all I really cared about was the new members more than, and so I don't, and so not ever, and they're like, well, you need to see this big picture. And I was like, that's not my job.
I mean, you are seeing the big picture though, but
Right,
for your
right,
section.
right.
But I also think sometimes in an organization, people can't separate the role from the person.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get frustrated with like the decision and add it to you as the person, instead of separating that sometimes you have to make hard decisions when you're in specific roles.
Right.
You can't please everyone. That's not possible.
Well, and I remember this is so crazy to me because now that I'm looking back on it, like so stupid. But I remember spending a whole day fighting with like two specific girls that were bigs at the time that wanted to do Big Little in a certain specific area of the house. And I said no because we weren't allowed to move the furniture. And that was not a me decision. That was also a president decision. Like I had already talked to the president and was like, hey, they want to do this. I don't think it's a good idea. and they came downstairs and threw a hissy fit at me and like were really upset, and I was like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like
The situation.
this is a situation, like I like if you want to fight me on it, go ahead, but like this has been the plan for a while and the
Mm,
majority was okay with this. So that's what we're doing. And
mhm.
they went above me and they chose it ended up being their way instead of mine. And I just was very frustrated because I was like, well, why am I here then? Like, why are,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
What's
Like,
the point?
I get it. Like, I get that you have an opinion and I get that you want, like, this is your experience with your little and I totally understand. But, like, this is not like for death. Like, you're still going to have an amazing experience no matter where the heck you do it. So why is this such a big like at the end of the day I was like, I don't care. You can go do it in the back parking lot of somewhere. Like whatever you want. But like
Yeah.
I'm trying to make everybody happy and this is what was decided. Go do whatever you want.
It's funny that you say that because also, when I guess a lot of people who meet me don't think of me as like the sorority type, which I guess makes sense. I'm not really the stereotype rah rah go team yeah
But I think
kind
that
of
was our
person.
chapter in general. Like I think not everybody in our chapter fit the stereotypical sorority.
Mhm.
And I think that was a lot of Delta Zeta in general.
But one thing I thought was funny is like when, people were opening up their bids, everybody around me is screaming and clapping and like
Mhm.
crying, going crazy. And I was just like, okay. And then my road guy was walked up to, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Why? They're like, are you going to accept it? I'm like, yeah, sure. They're like, well, why aren't you like
Honestly,
jumping up and down? I'm like,
it's
that's not my
right.
personality. I
And
can
it's
pretend if
honestly
you want me
better that
to.
way because you didn't get so, like I think people put a lot of weight on it too. So if they don't get the one they wanted, they're so upset. And it's
Mhm.
like at the end of the day, like it's gonna be what you make of it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to have that perspective to be like, okay, we're gonna try it out and we'll see. Like, might as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, no matter what. I mean, like DZ was obviously in my top, but like I
Right.
had a completely like crazy in touch experience with like the preference day at a different sorority. And so when I got it, I'm like, okay, like this is fine. I mean, I think even if I would have gotten the one that I pref first, I think I still would have been like, whatever. Like I'm
Yeah.
not my parents complained to me. They're like, you don't get excited
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
very many things. I guess when I was little, I was like, oh, about like everything. Now it's like very few things get me to be like genuinely like holy crud. Like I'm excited. And so people who don't know me,
I relate to that as getting older as well.
yeah, people who know me wouldn't think it was any big deal, but since these girls like, they knew me but didn't know me, they were like,
Yeah.
"Are you okay? Do we
What's
need to
wrong?
get you some
What's
water?"
wrong?
Like everyone else
Yeah.
is jumping up and down and you're just
Yeah.
standing here and I'm like, that's just who I am though. Like the reason I got involved in Greek life is because I'm an only child and I always wanted to have like a sibling bond
Sure.
because I'm never going to get to experience the real life version of that. And so, and also was a connection because like my dad was in Greek life. So I was like, maybe we can bond over both being in Greek life
Exactly.
kind of thing. But I'm like, I don't know. I just don't think I'm the type of person who is like super clappy and like even with like the chants and stuff, I never felt comfortable like singing them. I was not good at them. Like it just felt weird to me because I'm not like a
Yeah.
super girl, like I'm not a clappy like girly girl
Yes. No, I get what you mean. For
kind of person. Anyway, to move on to a different topic. So I know off camera, or you mentioned me, you're about to career transition. How are you feeling about that?
it's I'm really excited, honestly. So I've talked to you a little bit about this too, but I'm still in the higher ed sphere, which I don't know that I will be in the higher ed sphere for the rest of my life.
That's okay.
But I've come to accept that that's like you said, that's okay. But I I kind of connects with the leadership role of Delta Zeta. Like I've just always really enjoyed being in a mentor or a guide or something like that for students or other people. And so higher ed has given me like opened a door for me in that way of being in advising. I will say I learned so much in advising, but there's so much also I learned about advising that I didn't enjoy. And it was because I felt like there was such a lack of connection that I had with my students because I had so many students that I worked with.
That makes sense.
I was able to I had a lot of great relationships, but I didn't like I got to dedicate a lot of time to like each specific student. And
Mm-hmm.
so this role that I'm going into now as an assistant director is going to be more support based for the students who really need it. And so I'm really looking forward to that part of the job.
It's also a bougie title.
I mean,
And we know how you love bouge.
it is cool. It also doesn't feel like I'm supposed to be an assistant director.
Why?
I don't know. I think that's just the imposter syndrome in me a little bit. Like,
I mean, who doesn't have that?
right, right. So I'm like, no, I'm not. It's okay.
I
But
feel like once you get into it and
yeah,
you realize how good you are at it, you're gonna be like, why have I not been doing this my entire life? Well, obviously not your entire life,
right.
but
But yeah, so I'm excited about that aspect of the role. I'm excited to start with a new team and just have like a fresh slate. I've met some great people through my past role, and that really got me through my first couple years of my move and that big transition of my life. So I'm really grateful for my past experience, but I'm ready for a change for sure.
nice. And I also saw because I like looked at your LinkedIn profile a little bit.
She's
Yes.
doing research.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research. I saw that you're a member of the Red Shoe Crew. Can you
Yeah,
talk about like what exactly that is, how you got involved in it?
yeah, so it's honestly it was because I knew someone else in it. So my sister's really good friend from high school, they're still close. She lives in the Cincinnati area, and she was a part of it. It's a young professional group that does volunteer opportunities and fundraising for the Ronald McDonald House. So we get to actually have an event this week where we're trying to raise money for the families of the house here in Cincinnati, which their house is unbelievable. It's one of the coolest, I think. But they're doing really amazing things with the families of that house. And it's one of the volunteer organizations where you actually get to work with the kids at the house. So we
That's so
yeah,
awesome.
so it's very cool because we'll do like craft night. So we did like a St. Patty's Day where they all built leprechaun traps, and so my connection, it's kind of twofold. So I knew of my friend Nikki, who was president at the time, and she said, I think we know we would love to have you part of the crew. We also have leadership positions open, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I haven't even joined. Okay, let's take a step back.
Slow your roll.
But I really didn't know anybody when I moved to the city. And so it was a great double sided, two sides of the coin where I was like, oh, I'll meet people, but I'll also get to do a lot of volunteering and work
That's
with
good.
kids which is really what I miss about, you know, not being in the teaching atmosphere anymore. I really miss working with that population. So it's kind of filling my cup in ways that I'm not getting in my career,
Mhm.
but also has introduced me to some great girls. And it takes a long time to meet not just girls, there are men too. Like, I've become closer with some of the girls, and took me a long time to build relationships in a city. Nobody I really knew that well lived here,
Yeah, when
and
you're outside of college, it's really hard to meet
it
people. You can't
was
just walk up to them in a coffee shop and be like, "Hey," because people are
especially
gonna
going
think
to
you're a creep.
DC, I was so used to seeing someone everywhere went,
Mm.
right? Like, and so that transition from college to then like not knowing anybody and moving to city was really, really hard for me. I really struggled. It was like the first years where I felt like I didn't have anybody or a social life at all. And now that I'm kind of on year 3 of being here, I'm definitely like starting to build those relationships more and be able to do more fun things. And so I think it's been a great addition. But yeah, so as a baby, I was in the house for when I was diagnosed, and my mom and I stayed in the house. So I think we were there for like 3 months. So while I was getting treatment, so I really connect with the house in that way. And then I always wanted to volunteer and be more involved in things that I was passionate about, but I really didn't feel like I had the time or energy. So now that I feel like I can do it outside of work, and it's so low maintenance too. It's very much like sign up for what you can attend, and then if you can't make that event that month, that's fine. When I was in it for about a year, or maybe even like 6 months, they asked me to be on the board of the
That's
group.
so exciting.
Yeah, so I work, which I know nothing about marketing or PR, but I do the social media for the organization. So I try and just promote the events we have coming up and the fundraisers and all that stuff. So that's been a really cool thing that I didn't even really think about doing when I moved here, but
Mhm.
it's been really, really fun.
How have you worked on creating a good work-life balance?
It's a good question.
Because I'm
Yeah,
still
it's
in the
hard.
path of figuring out.
I will say that towards the end of this job, I was having a really hard time with it. When I was in counseling, I really, really struggled with it. Just like constantly bringing home and just like falling asleep thinking about the clients that I was working with all the time. And it was really hard for me to shut that off.
Yeah.
I do though think that that really helped me going into my next role because I very much forced myself to not think about work when I hit 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
Like I was very like if I would start thinking about something, I would be like, nope, we're not thinking about it till tomorrow. And some days it's a lot easier than others.
Yeah.
But I think the more it had more to do with this role, it was more the environment that I was in more than the clients. So it wasn't affecting me as deeply as the clients
Yeah.
were. But yeah, so it's hard. It's definitely hard. And I worked 50% remote with this position that I just ended. That was hard too because I would just keep working. Like I wouldn't stop. And I
Getting a cutoff time. Yeah.
and so I would just be like, no, you have to stop. You have to put your computer down. You have to you have to get other stuff done. But there will
Yeah.
never be enough time in the day. So I try because I push myself to get more things done than I have the energy for, which is the balance that I'm still constantly trying to find.
Yeah.
But I try to tell myself like only committing to like one or two things that I'm gonna do after work and then that's the cutoff because I just know that toward the end of the day I don't have the energy.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I was in Georgia, sometimes like it got to the I was so work focused that it got to the point where like I couldn't do like things I used to enjoy
Right.
unless I was with people.
Yeah.
Like that was the only time I felt like I had any like energy outside of that. So, and I think like even in college, I don't know, looking back, I feel like I put so much of my identity into getting my degree and being involved on campus that like I look back and sometimes I'm just frustrated with the fact that I didn't go out and enjoy things as much as I should have
I get that.
because I was so focused on, well, if this is going to be my future, like I need to be
Hmm.
doing the most for my future.
Yeah.
And relationships that I truly, truly care about, I feel like aren't where they could have been had
Mhm.
I shifted my like alignment to also include more people.
It's hard. It's a hard balance to find, especially being removed from that college environment and then going to a new college environment and being like, wow, those 4 years, like, I really won't ever have that again.
Hmm.
Like, looking back on it and be like, and there's grad school, but grad school is a whole different ballgame. Not the same at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
telling me.
I just remember when everybody left for grad school and I stayed at the same university was when I really felt like, oh, this is what it's going to be the new normal. And I should have appreciated it more at the time. And I do feel like I did an okay job, but for me, I have a hard time of letting things go. And so I was like, I need to be better about just being like, okay, that was then, this is now. Like, what do I need to do to like, this sounds very philosophical, but like, what do I need to do to make myself happy? Like, what do I care about? What's going to fill my cup? But it's a hard thing to find because I mean, the first year I was here, I was like, felt like I was running around with a chicken with my head cut off. It was like even just finding doctors and making sure I keep my dog alive and like
Oh my
just
gosh,
like
doctors.
right and just the commute to work and it taking 45 minutes to get home in traffic to like an hour. I was like, that's all stuff that we've never dealt with before or at
Yeah.
least I hadn't. So it really was just trying to figure out like what's gonna work best for me and my routine. But I realized like how much I really struggled with not having that social aspect
Hmm.
very early on. So I'm not the best at it because I just get so busy and then I forget, but I try to like try and plan something every weekend that's at least some kind of social, whether it's like coffee or just going to like get dinner or going to the park or something with someone or FaceTiming. That's been like a lifesaver because a lot of my friends don't from that time or at least like that I was really
Aren't
close with
super close.
aren't super close anymore. So, I mean, a lot of them are still in Ohio, which is great, but it's not a day drive, right? So, it,
Yeah.
I realized that I really struggle with not having that social piece. So, I try to, when I feel like blah or I feel like I'm sad or mopey or whatever, I'm like, oh, it's because I haven't really talked to anybody in a while, or I haven't made a phone call, or I haven't texted or whatever. So then I'll try and call a friend and be like, hey, that's in Maryland, and be like, what's up? But it's exhausting. It's just tired. It's like you don't have any energy.
Yeah, speaking of like friendships and stuff, it's
Yeah.
funny because like I was talking to my mom when she was here
Yeah.
about like she believes that sometimes there's like a point where it's not worth reaching out to people anymore about Like if you've just drifted apart, or even if there's like maybe a situation that happened, she's like, to her, she's like, just,
Interesting.
you know,
Yeah.
try and move on. But I'm very different where I'm like, if I decided at one point I'm going to invest in someone, a
Mm,
part of my heart is always invested in that person, whether things end the most amicably,
mm,
whether it's a fade out, whether things didn't end very pretty.
yeah.
I always care for each person that I decide to let into my life. And so,
Yeah.
like, I don't think it's ever too late to reach out to people. They might not respond the
Mhm.
way that we had hoped, but there's always, I don't know, if there was love at one point, I feel like
Yeah.
it's worth to still try and invest. Where do you stand on that?
It's a good question. I think it really has depends on the situation. Honestly, I think so. Try not. I will try not to ramble. But the something I really work really hard is my personal relationships. Like that's something that I've always held at the top of my priority list because I struggled with not having people in my corner for so long. Like until I got to college, I did not have a good group of friends. Like I had a couple one or two very close best friends, but I did not have a group. I was not going out and doing things on the weekends with my friends that often. Like I had friends like that I did have friends, but that was like the end of my college career when I felt like I had a good group of friends that actually cared and invested the same amount of time and energy into me that I did to them.
Yeah.
And so I think because of those experiences growing up and not always feeling like I was the most accepted by others, I have learned to kind of protect myself a little bit and not give more than
Other people are willing to give.
right and more than people take. So there are a couple of friendships in college that I thought were going to last a really long time and I was going to stay in touch with them forever. Nothing happened, but I kind of realized over the course of that period, like after college, I was always the one reaching out and I was always the one making the effort. And
Mm.
that was really hard for me because I want to love people so much and like give them so much and be their friend and be supportive. But I was like, but who's looking out for me?
Yeah, you can't, it's not truly a friendship if you're
Yeah.
the only one putting anything
Correct.
into it.
Now, there are definitely people who I wish I still had relationships with in college, but I will say that I don't think like, there's no harm in sending them a message or a comment on Facebook or Instagram or what, like sliding on their story on Instagram and being like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you when like something happens in their life. Because
Mhm.
I think it's never like that means a lot to people, even if it's not something that's that monumental. I think that's great. But I also have to put some kind of boundary on my relationships because I've just been so it's been very one-sided for many of my situations. I remember I got really close with someone in grad school and she just kind of like cut me off. And it was very much we were roommates. We were inseparable at the time. I thought we were going to be friends for a while and then I kind of realized that there was just not the same level of maturity or respect as I had for them.
Mm.
And instead of just being honest and having conversations, they just kind of cut me off.
That's hard.
Because I wanted so bad, I kept reaching out and reaching out, and I was like, "What is going on?" But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna force you to care.
Mm.
That's not my responsibility. So it was like a bad breakup. Like I
Yeah, I mean that's hard to accept because I feel like when you put energy in for friendships, at least for me, it's like they see every part of you,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you go all in. And so when they aren't a part of that anymore, sometimes it's hard when you see things that remind you of memories or moments
Right.
that were good.
Right. Well, and it was just a weird situation because we both didn't have people at the time, so I think we both very much like clung on to each other, which I'm not
Uh,
saying is entirely healthy either. But after that and after we moved out, it was like, was all of that a lie? Like, did you just need me at the time because I was there? And
mm,
like, did you really like there was just so many things that I was like, is it lack of maturity? Is it just lack of, like, I don't know. I just felt like it was, I don't want to say fake because that's wrong, but like not the right word. But I just was like, it just felt like it wasn't genuine.
like you never really knew what your relationship was to them.
And like, there were definitely probably times that I was like, oh, that's weird, but like, oh well. And then I was like, wait,
That's so relatable.
probably not. I don't know. It's weird because I think about it a lot too because I'm very much that person that's like, what did I do wrong? Was it my fault?
Yes.
Right? Like, hello, like what's going on? What happened? And I want to fix it. Like I want to make it better. And I'm always trying to, and I'm so invested, like you said, in other people that it's like, well, let's fix it and let's move past it. But like there comes a point where it's like they're telling
There's
you,
only so much you can do.
right? They're
And
telling you
some,
that they don't want to be involved in your life. Like you need to listen.
yeah.
It's
No, that's 100% valid. I think sometimes it's just hard to accept
mhm.
that they don't feel the same level
Yes.
that you do in that friendship. One thing I thought was interesting, so I also went on your Instagram and perused a little bit.
Love it.
You have this really cool tagline that says, "I can and I will watch me."
Mm,
What inspired you to put this onto your Instagram?
good question. I short answer is I got really sick of people telling me I couldn't do things. I mean even family just and I don't Sophia's face. I don't and I here's the thing. I don't blame anybody for thinking that way because I think it comes from a place of fear and worry because they care, not from a place like they don't think I'm capable.
Mm.
But it's frustrating. Like I had my stepdad tell me he didn't think I was ever going to go to college. I had my grandma be like, "You're not going to move to Cincinnati by yourself." And I was like, "Okay, but I will, and I will, and you're going to watch me do it, and you're going to watch me be successful at it." So it came from a lot. I mean, it wasn't just them though. It was like multiple social experiences. Well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do the? Have you been to those like places where you those like what are they called? Like break? They're not break rooms, not escape rooms, but they're like when you get out your anger. Have you been to those?
Rage room.
Thank you. Rage rooms. And
I've been to one. I want to go to one.
so a couple of my coworkers and I did it like last year. And because there was like glass and a lot of like, it was not something you want to like step on, right? Like
Mm.
they were like, well, you can't do it because I was in my chair. And they were like, you can't do it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it though.
Can't you just not throw glass
Well, it
in
was
your
like they're like,
direction?
well, we don't want your wheels to pop because it's like there's glass on the ground. So I get
Yeah.
what they were trying to say, but I was like, oh, but like I'm going to, and I like it was funny because I just pulled my crutches up and stood up and like walked in them.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But
you
because
can.
they didn't know that I was capable of it, they were like, I just don't want you to pay for it if you can't participate. And I was like, oh, like I appreciate that, but like no, I'm gonna do it. So
It was kind of one of those things where people, because they don't have, like, they don't go through something or they don't know enough about it, they just kind of put assumptions that you can't do something based on
exactly.
their own kind of
Right.
mind thinking,
And
oh,
that's why I
well,
don't really blame other people for thinking that way. I think it gets hard when you've never, like, you don't know what I've been through, you don't know what I'm capable of, so I get it. But I guess for me, I've never been somebody that's like, oh, like, that's impossible for me. I'm just not going to even try. That's just never been me. Like, there are some things where I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that because I could break something, but like, I've never been like I was very much like, why wouldn't I go to college? Why wouldn't I do like why wouldn't I move to Cincinnati?
and I also feel like that's why intention and impact are so important
Mm,
because the intention isn't to be rude.
right,
But
correct.
what you're saying can be very hurtful to someone, especially in that situation. Like, you think I'm incapable of this? Like, I'm pretty smart. I've done all these other things. Like, why couldn't I do this?
Right. Well, in my head, I was like, I graduated high school. Like, why wouldn't I? Like, there was just so many, like, things where I was like, why? Like, so for me, I've always just kind of been like, okay, you think that, and that's fine. But, like, I'm going to do it anyway. And so that's kind of why it became a tagline. It's funny because I kind of forgot that it was still my turn.
Really?
Yeah, but makes sense because I was probably feeling really feisty that one day. So made it my
You just put it up and forgot about
tagline.
it?
Yeah, probably.
I'm dead. That's so funny.
Probably.
So, like, one thing I've been trying to focus on a lot in this podcast is like self discovery.
Yeah.
Where do you think you are on your journey of self discovery?
I think there's still things that I'm discovering about myself all the time. I think I've really noticed that I feel like I'm very able to identify like my values and what I hold really close to me and what's important to me and like who I want to be to other people. I think that's always kind of what I've been strong in, like that side of me. I think my professional journey is very always unknown for me and something I'm still trying to figure out about myself, who I am in a a romantic relationship is something that I'm still trying to figure out in myself. Like I've never been in one, but I want to be like I want the white picket fence stereotypical like
Yeah.
kids and a family and a husband, but I've just never had many experiences of that. So I think there's still areas of my life that I'm constantly gonna learn and figure out about myself.
Well, and life isn't linear either.
Right.
Like we might want it to be,
Right.
but it isn't.
Right.
Sorry, give me 1 second. My dog is
You're good.
trying to chew on something and it's gonna be squeaky. So let me get away from him. And he's also gonna try and eat this mic.
Hi, buddy.
He was trying to do that earlier. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Take a nap.
Go to sleep.
Yeah, go to sleep. Bye bye. Okay. Yeah, that's one thing I've started to realize is that life is not linear, kind of like bounces around, which can be really hard to take in when you just want things to kind of be on the path that you want them to be on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we can't. We only have so many things in our control, more so like how we react to things
Mhm.
more than anything, and trying to be aware
Yeah.
of like how we are reacting in the moment too.
Yes.
Because I know, like, I don't know, sometimes you can hear news and instead of processing it, kind of like take it out on other people.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to be a lot more like aware of like where I'm at with things, where I'm at with myself, how I feel about different things, because I don't want to project that onto somebody else.
Yeah, I think the last couple of years with not having a lot of people in my corner and a lot of like I have a really good like inner circle of my family, like my immediate family. Our relationships are strong, and I have a niece and a nephew who I adore, and so I think they
Yeah, they're so cute.
thank you. They keep me really grounded. Like they always remind me about like the joy that we have in this life and the stuff that we get to experience and like how excited they get about stuff. Like it always is just so fun for me to like be an aunt with them. But I think too, it's like I'm still learning to trust my own decision making and trust who I am as a person. I think that comes with just time. But even like in my last job, I was very much like, am I crazy? Or is this not the right way to do this? Right? Like I'm like, how am I the only one that thinks that way? You know, like it's just a different. So
Sometimes it's not you, it's just you're in the wrong environment.
correct. And so I go home and I sit and I think on it. I'm like, no, I have a good judge of character. I have a good judgment. I make ethical decisions. Like when you think about it in that form of it, like these are the facts and you're not wrong. Absolutely. But in the moment, you're like, am I? Am I? Like, am
It's
I?
so hard to sometimes see situations as like a third party.
Yes. Yeah.
Because when you're involved in it, your feelings are involved in it, and depending on how you take in the world,
Mm-hmm.
like we were talking earlier about like self blame, right? Like if you're typically always blaming yourself, then if you don't look at things as they are, you're going to, every time the answer is going to be you're the problem, even if you're not.
And I've always been insecure in my social relationships. Like, and I have some of, like, I've had the best social relationships in this point in my life than I've ever had. But I still am like, I don't want to be a bad friend. I don't want to be XYZ. I don't, like, I very much like, well, maybe was too strong when I said that to them, or maybe I was too bossy or whatever. Like, I've always been really insecure because I've had a lot of, like, failed friendships that I very much.
It snowballs.
Yes, it snowballs, and that's where my anxiety stems from a lot of the time. But it's like I'm not. Like I know I'm a good friend, but if you sit down and rationalize it, like you're fine. But it is like the anxiety makes it like 10 times worse.
Yeah, or if you've been told time and time again something by other people, then you start to think that that's who you are.
Yes.
I was also talking to my mom about this. Like, you're gonna be the villain in someone's story, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
And you can only try and do your best and move on from it and live with knowing that unfortunately like decisions that you made didn't impact people
Right.
in the way that your intentions were.
Right.
But you can't let that fester or hold on to you forever. You can't let that guilt eat away at you, because then you're gonna be a shallow person. Like you won't be able to propel into the best version of yourself. Another question that I've been trying to ask people is, what era do you think that you're in? So I'm in my pivoting era. I had someone, I think, say like they were in their curiosity era.
Okay. I've been thinking about this because I don't see. I thought you were gonna go like the Taylor Swift route. So I was gonna name the Taylor Swift era, but like if it could be anything.
Yeah. I mean, you can do both if you want. I know you're a hardcore Swiftie, so.
So it's interesting because like last year I would have said I was like, or like the year before that I would have said I was like in my, for my fellow Swifties that might be listening to this, my TTBD era. Like was just like sad girl energy all the time because I just was so like, I think I get really stuck in like what I feel like is supposed to happen versus like what actually should happen or what I actually do enjoy and like I can't control what's not happening in my life. So
Yeah.
why can't I just so I'm trying to be more positive. Like I'm trying to be like what can you control and what do you like about your life? Like that's rather than figuring out like what's not happening. Well, yeah, you've never been in a relationship before, but that's not entirely just in your control. So
Mm-hmm.
why are you harping on that when you don't have that right? Like so this year I feel like I'm trying to be more just not it sounds weird more happy but like find more joy and just be more positive because I feel like I used to be a really positive person and now I feel like life's hit me a little too hard and I'm trying to bounce back a little bit. So I would probably say I'm in my reputation area for the people who know that era, just kind of standing strong and true to who I am and really embracing that side of myself and just being like, this is, you're allowed to care about things you care about. You're allowed to put energy in the things that you want to put energy into. Maybe it's not always understood by everybody, or maybe you feel like you have to explain your choices all of the time, but you don't. Like this, you're in charge of your own life, and that is in your control. So more focusing on that. So that's why I would say my reputation area. And still figuring out stuff about myself and finding out, maybe things I didn't know about myself before. Always being open to new things and new people for sure.
That's cool. Where do you think that you are um in terms of how well you know yourself? Because I know it's kind of like a life journey. I think that I realized I put so much of my identity into my work that now I'm like, okay, who am I? What do I like?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, what? Because I don't want just what I do to define me
yeah.
work wise.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still learning stuff about myself. I think I do know a lot more about myself than I did a couple years ago. I think I would that transitional period of your life, like from like mid 20s to late 20s. I think I figured
Don't
out.
tell me that.
Sorry. But I do think, and you will probably relate to this, you're learning so much more about yourself going through this than you did not before this, right? So I
Yeah.
like challenging myself to move to a new city, meet new people, start my career, like all of that is very new and that's change. And I think you learn a lot about yourself during those times. Like I think figure out like, oh, I do this when I'm stressed, or I do overcompensate with that when I'm tired, or I need to take a step back and worry about myself for a minute and focus on what I need to take care of myself. So, because life's always changing and life's always moving, time doesn't slow down, all that philosophical crap. But, like, it's true. Like,
I also think I started to realize that, like, it's okay to have boundaries.
yes, Sophia, we've been trying to teach you this since freshman year of
2017,
college.
I actually started reading a book on boundaries.
Love that for you.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Like, just reading it because I was like, wait, having a good friend means if I tell them I'm not comfortable with something, they just say okay and we move on.
Correct.
Like, I think I
Life
had to pick my jaw off of
changing.
the floor because I'm like, I mean, you've seen me. I feel like I have always moved my boundaries for other people
Yeah,
constantly.
absolutely.
And like when someone tells me, hey, this is a boundary for me, I'm like, cool, thank you for letting me know. But I feel like I have made big efforts to move my boundaries a lot for other people. And I'm finally at the point where I'm like, I want to respect myself like the same level I respect other people. And even though it feels okay, I mean, not okay, it feels weird to say,
No.
maybe not,
Yeah.
or no, thank you.
No, thank you. I'm good.
I need to start doing that more. And it's funny because I have like a lot of the friends I have here, I think I was supposed to get together with somebody for something a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago. And I was like, can we rain check? I just really am not mentally feeling like
Feeling it.
going out today. And they're like, okay, sure. And I'm like, wait, that's it? There's no rebuttal?
Crazy.
And they were
Well,
like,
and I
no.
would tell anybody who's listening that Sophia has the biggest heart and would always, like you said, move your boundaries for other people. And 9 times out of 10, when Sophia was upset or would need to talk about something, it was because she was moving her boundaries for other people. And we would sit there and we would say, Sophia, this is not your problem. You need to take care of yourself and worry about yourself.
I think it's hard though, because in my mind, I was like, well, this is what, if I
Yeah.
needed this, I would want a
No.
friend to do it for me.
Correct.
Instead of looking at situations as what they are, because I mean, with boundaries, like, there are situations where they are movable, but you shouldn't always be moving them.
Correct.
And also, if you're in friendships with people who are strict with theirs and are not ever willing to move them for you, then you shouldn't ever really be.
Moving
I feel really bad saying that, but you should not be
right.
always moving yours for them.
It's
Because
hard. And I say this to you fully knowing how difficult it is. I am not a pro at it by any means. I remember I remember a day in college where I had promised like 4 different people that I would do 4 different things for them. And I was losing my mind. I was like up till 10 o'clock working on stupid name tags for recruitment because somebody asked me to make 100 and name tags for recruitment and I didn't say no because I wanted to be helpful and help and I was up.
I think I remember this.
Correct. I say everybody probably remembers this. And it was like the 4th thing that I was doing, spending my day doing for someone else. It was, and because I care and because I want to be there for other people, I remember being like, I really need to start saying no to things and just investing only so much to other people because I do think it's important. Like, I do think it's important to, like, show up for other people. But also, like, if I listen to myself and treated myself the same way I treated other people, I would not be in this situation right now.
Yeah, I'd be going to my friend and be like, "What is like why?
Right,
Like why?"
right. And I remember because Amanda came up to me and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I spent my day solely doing things for other people." And she was like, "Well, that's stupid." And then she walked in her room and she was like, "Good luck with that." Like, because Amanda,
So Amanda, I love that.
Amanda would never. She'd be like, "No, I'm not doing that." Like,
And that was one thing I always admire about her too, is like her ability to just be like, "That's not my problem,"
right.
and walk away.
Oh, I still remember though. I would ask. It would make me so mad too. But I would be like, "Hey, you want to go get coffee and like do homework in the evening?" She'd be like, "I'd be like, are you doing something?" She'd be like, "No, I just don't want to do that." I was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "I'm not gonna get any work done, so I'd rather just sit here." And I was like, "Okay." And in the corner, I guess. Like, but I take that stuff personally because I'm like, "Oh, you don't want to hang out with me?"
Yeah.
But when you realize with Amanda, it's not personal. It wasn't like
It's
she was
just it's just how
brain
she
works.
works
And
best.
I will
Yeah.
say she's way more in her emotions and her feelings now than she ever was back then. But considering she's getting married and she was
I know, I'm so excited
no
for her.
commitment queen over there was like now I'm like okay gushing about a boy that she's known for a year. I'm like stop. I keep making fun of her for it, but I'm generally so happy for her. But it's just funny because I'm like, who are you and what did you do with Amanda? It's crazy. But anyways, but it is like that boundary of, and that's something that I'm still learning. But I remember that day in college so vividly because I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I can't do that anymore. And I did lose friendships because of it, because I stopped putting so much effort in for other people and it wasn't reciprocated. I was
Really.
like, okay, then like I can't.
That's sad though. Like
It is.
that people aren't willing to respect you for like taking no as it is.
I think it was that part of it. I think it was because I was putting so much more energy into them than they were to me. And when I sat back, thought about that, would they do this for me? Like if I was asking them this,
That's a hard question.
would they do this for me? They probably wouldn't have offered, but they would do it. And I was like, maybe I don't need to invest as much energy in them then, if they're not going to do that for me. And there are people I love and cheer on in the world that I'm not as close with now. But
That's okay. I
that's
mean,
okay. But it was because I was putting in way more effort to them than they were to me. And I don't have the energy to do that. That's just not in my capacity. So
yeah.
I think it really is about, and a lot of it is about finding people who are so non judgmental. Like,
Mm.
for people to say, when you text them and be like, hey, I'm just not in the mindset to do this today. Can we do it a different day? And then be like, sure, that's all it takes. And I would say my longest friend, I say that's why we are still friends today, is because she call me and she'll be like, I don't want to do that. I just want to lay on the couch and watch TV all day. Will you come over and do it with me? I'm like, yep. There's just no judgment there. Like, we don't have to
Yeah.
thing or be somebody for somebody else,
Other people.
for other people, right? We could just be ourselves and be like, if we don't want to do that, if we just want to lay in our pajamas and go to bed early, then we'll do that. Like, there's just no extra pressure or expectation to be someone you're not. And that takes a really hard time and a long time takes a while to find that.
Yeah.
It really
To come into that realization, and
Yeah.
then after coming to that realization, put it into action. Because I feel like those are the first step is realizing you have a problem.
Right, literally. The first step is realize you have a problem for sure, but that you don't. It takes experiences and situations and things that come up in your life to teach you those things, and a lot of times you can't figure those things out until it's right in front of your face to be like, oh, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? This doesn't make sense for me anymore. So we got off track for sure, but
Oh, you're fine. I think that that's kind of the cool point of like a
yeah,
podcast, right? Is like the flow of things.
yeah,
And if a conversation feels like it's flowing into a different topic, then like that's what we should talk about, you know?
I agree.
Last, I guess, thing in terms of like being recorded on the podcast. Do you have any closing thoughts?
So general, just closing thoughts.
Or like any like last point you want to talk about? Is there anything that you would recommend that you've been doing for self improvement? Any books or
So I'm a
affirmations?
huge pop culture girl, so I love listening to my own pop culture podcasts, and I love reading my books. So I always have book recommendations. I'm mostly romance and fantasy. So if like that's not your wheelhouse, don't ask me for book recommendations because I live in a fictional world and I like it to be that way.
I mean, that was always one of my favorite things in college. Would be I'd be like, I'm not going to read this book, Susan, but tell me
Oh my
what
god.
happened.
I will say that Sophia was the best because when I was talking about a book and was so invested in a book, I knew that Sophia would sit down and listen to me for however long I wanted it to talk to her about it and be like, oh my god, Sophia, this is what happened, and then this happened, and she would just be like, okay, cool, what happened? Like, that's crazy. So
Actually enjoyed it
I
though.
know.
I mean, I get invested.
No, exactly. So that was like always so great about you is you would just be like, you're invested, I'm invested. Like, let's go. Like, let's do it. I was like, oh, thank God. Because some people don't care. I'm like, guys, because like I had this. I went to breakfast yesterday with a couple of my friends from the Red Shoe Crew, and I was talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty because I read the book, and the new season of the show
Okay.
is coming out. And I was like, I am team Conrad till the day I die, and I will sit here and talk. Oh, Sophia doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
We can argue about that later. But till the day I die, I will be Team Conrad. And I think if you're
Interesting.
Team Jeremiah, we have words. But neither one of them had like really been invested in it. And so, well, she had watched. I said when my one friend watched it, but neither of them that was like their thing. And so I was just telling them about the one girl who hadn't even read the books about it and was going through it with her and whatever. And I was so passionate about it. And I was like, they might not care about this, but like, it's good that they're just sitting here and listening to me.
Yeah, I mean,
I was like, at least you're humoring me. Totally, that's all I care about, for sure. But I do want to give you your flowers because I listened to when you sent me your podcast like a couple weeks ago for the first episode, and I talked to you about it with Amanda too because I was like, did Sophia say podcast? And I was like, you sound like you've grown so much and done so much like just working on you is because you sounded like so grown up and just like you had just like we were like she sounds like a whole new person, she really does. So I wanted to give you flowers because I think you have blossomed, and I know it probably doesn't feel like that right now with the same life that you're in, but like I listened to your podcast and I was like, go Sophia, like I love this for you. I think this is a great.
I mean, I know the sound quality, especially starting out,
But
is
it
not
doesn't,
great.
you're starting out. Like, I don't think any of that matters. I think content is what matters. And I think that you, even before this, when you're talking about the people you're reaching out to and you're putting yourself out there, like, that's really hard to do. like just in general. And I think you have to give yourself major kudos for that because, like, everybody always says, like, you're an extrovert, you're so like, you talk to everybody, you get along with everybody. I'm like, I do not like meeting people. It gives me anxiety, it stresses me out. I hate small talk. And Amanda always makes fun of it. She's like, she's
You're
like,
a pro of
you're
small
a
talk.
pro at that. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, but I don't like it. When I'm friends with you already, I love it. I will spend like all the time in the world.
Hours.
Yes. But when I don't know people for the first time, introducing myself and making conversation, maybe that's why I'm still single. Probably. For the first time, like, it really gives me anxiety. It's that like social anxiety piece. I'm like, maybe they're gonna hate me. Maybe I'm coming off too strong. Maybe that like just like all of the thoughts that ruminate, right? So I don't like it, but everybody always says you're a pro. Christina in college used to make fun of me because she'd be like, you would be the nicest and the most pleasant, and then you would turn around and be like, I don't like that person. But you would never be able to tell because
Yeah.
it was like, because you treat everybody the same. And I was like, how people should be treated. Like, yeah, I'm not going to be your bestie, but like,
You don't have to be rude.
no, I'm going to be
either. Yeah.
respectful and have a conversation with you because we're all human beings. Like, come on, like, but it was just funny because I was like, it even, and I think after COVID, it's a lot worse. But like, I just being just introducing, like, starting the Red Shoe Crew, I was so nervous because I was like, what if they all hate me, and what if I'm just like the weirdo in the corner and all this stuff. And I think that comes with like, I also am insecure just about having a physical disability in person because people judge a book by its cover so often that I feel like not everybody gets to know me before they make that judgment, right? So
People just jump to
right,
conclusions.
and I don't blame them again because they don't know any different. But it is like I want to show people that I am more than
You're more than that.
right.
Yeah.
So, but I will say, like, that's anyway, putting yourself out there is really hard to do. So, I think you need to give yourself and networking and just being in a city that you don't know and are not used to. Like, it's hard to do that. So, I know you're going through it, but I think it's great that you're putting this on. I think you're doing a really good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And I hope you maybe sometime want to come back again
Yes.
to be on
Yes.
another episode of the Rediscovery Journal.
Yes.
And that is it in terms of the recording for this week. So thank y'all for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.